Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. Week 3, Fantasy and Facts. I'm your boy Jay. I got Ty on the line with me as usual. We're here once again. Going to talk about the round 2 mock drafts. Last week we did the round 1, so this week we're going to bring it a little bit different to you guys. Expand a little bit because we know a lot of the top 10 picks. A lot of people already know who's really going in that first round. So far, we haven't played any preseason games. That might change a couple things, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. Also going to talk about some headlines. As usual, we're starting to show off. That's kind of the flow we're going with right now. Let us know if you like it. If you don't, we'll change up a few things. We always take your comments. Ty, how you feeling today?
Feeling good. I'm glad football started. Tomorrow night is the first preseason game we get in the see. I think preseason is very important. I don't want people to forget this. Preseason, you can learn a lot. You can see who can pass block. As for the rookies, you can see which rookies are going to make impact at the receiver. You can see rookie quarterbacks that they have potential to play later on in the season. So I don't want people to forget that if you pay just a little attention to preseason, some of your sleepers late in the year from injuries, you'll be able to find and you'll know about them before everybody else will. So if you pay attention just a little bit preseason, you might give you the advantage you need to win your league.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if you do pay attention, it's not all about when just the starters come out of the game. You know what I mean? When those you got to look deep into those third and fourth quarters. Some of those guys that probably aren't even going to make rosters are going to be on the practice squad.
Yeah, Victor
Those are some
Cruz.
guys that'll come on later on in the year.
Vic,
That always happens when some of the starters start getting injured from the wear and tear of being in the NFL. So definitely keep an eye on that.
Victor Cruz.
Yeah,
His
Victor Cruz, that's how he made a
yeah,
living.
3 touchdowns in things like the second half against the Jets a few years back, and he made the roster just off that preseason. So, and that's a name. I know everybody likes to drink during the game and turn it off in the fourth quarter, and you forget that some of these players are going to make the team and are going to be impactful. It's not always the first and second round rookies. It's the late round picks or the undrafted free agents that end up making a name for themselves because they get so overlooked draft time.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And that's why we're here to help you guys out. As we said, this is a show for, not only just you, the listener, the avid fantasy football listener, but you have, significant others, girls in the office that play. If you have a little thing at work going, or with your, you know, old friends, anybody can listen to this and kind of get some more information. So we make sure we can break it down for you as best as we can, so you can take it in and do what you will with it. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Breaking news. We got a lot going on in the NFL right now. Uh, just to name a few, we got Andrew Luck situation. Uh, there's some word going around that he might not be able to start the season. Going to miss the first 6 games on that physically unable to perform list. So that's something to keep an eye on. Sterling Shepard with that low ankle sprain, Will Fuller, broken collarbone, and then we got, should I say it, Colin Kaepernick. So we got a lot. We'll go through this pretty quick. First, that Andrew Luck situation, the physically unable to perform list. That shoulder's still giving him some issues. Ty, what do you think about that?
Scott Tolzien, everybody. He's not going to be fantasy pick for anybody. He might be a streamer if you have a deep bye week or injuries in that quarterback position. But if Andrew Luck is really hurt, like they're saying, and like they're leading it to be, I see him affecting T.Y. Hilton, uh, Dante Moncrief, Frank Gore, uh, Doyle, the tight end, the defense even. So your a lot is on the line just for Andrew Luck. He carries that franchise. I mean, he's so important to them. I think they might even be holding him out just as precautionary, so he won't re-injure that shoulder and it affected him throughout his career. Like we seen Drew Brees a couple years ago with his shoulder injury right before he signed with the Saints.
Right.
Uh, The Dolphins passed on him. Yeah, I know that hurt you. The Dolphins passed on him because of that shoulder. They're not saying that the Colts will release him or get rid of him, but I think it might be more precautionary. It seems like he's not ready to play, and it seems like they're not itching for him to get back on the field. Maybe they know that their team is not ready to win right now, so maybe they figure, hey, let's be patient with Andrew Luck and see what we can do without him. But as far as T.Y. Hilton, who people have been drafting in the second round, early second round, maybe the number 5 or 6 receiver coming off the board, I think is going to affect him because Scott Tolzien is not the quarterback that Andrew Luck is, and won't find Ty in those for those long plays that Andrew Luck has found Ty in the past.
That's right. And the thing is with Andrew Luck, he's going into his sixth season right now. Um, and for my football heads out there, I would do a little comparison. Uh, well, not really a comparison, but Tom Brady, when he first started out his career, he's only missed one season. That was the season my Dolphins made the playoffs, thank God. uh, but he's played. He's been healthy most of his career, and if he wants to be considered one of the greats, he's gonna have to be on that field. He's going into his sixth season. He's only played three full seasons. The past two, he's already missed some games, and is already, sounds like he's about to miss some games in his third. So definitely want him to get healthy, help out these young receivers because they do have a lot of talent, and they can take them some places if they get there.
I just don't know why the management for the Colts has not surrounded him with an offensive line. You pay him all this money, and you don't surround him with an offensive line, at least a left tackle and a right tackle to keep him healthy.
Right.
In my opinion, I know T.Y. Hilton is a great receiver. I would rather do what the Patriots do and protect Brady and save money on the receivers. But I'm not the organization. I'm not the GM. I'm not the owner. And I doubt they make a call to Colin Kaepernick based on Andrew Luck's injury. I know a lot of people want that to happen, but I doubt the Colts organization will do that. And I doubt Colin Kaepernick will accept that, knowing that Andrew Luck can come back at any time.
Right.
I think Colin is waiting for the right moment. That's why I think maybe the Baltimore thing has not come into play yet. I think he might be waiting for that right opportunity, like an opportunity if quarterback goes down for the season, or if the Jets maybe call him, he has a chance to win the starting spot for the season. But other than that, I think he's just going to be patient and wait a little while.
That's right. And yeah, definitely want him to get healthy as soon as possible. We got some football coming up, man. We want the best athletes on the field. Get those
Yeah,
fantasy points up so you can crush
it just,
Kinder.
it's just gonna hurt our draft if we don't know if Andrew Luck is gonna play week 1 or not, because we might not find out until the day of the draft, or if you're drafting late in any of your leagues. For the listeners, you might not find out because then I doubt Andrew Luck plays any preseason games. That doesn't mean he won't play week 1 or week 2, but you won't know that maybe until late. So always have a backup plan. Not to mention Scott Tolzien, I mentioned earlier about being the starter, but they did draft Stephen Morris out of the University of Miami a couple of years ago, which a lot of people see as a pro-style quarterback. He has a big, strong arm. Maybe he can outplay Tolzien in preseason. So if he does, it might be a little bit better than Tolzien.
That's right. All right, and so let's go ahead and start. Let's talk about a little bit about Sterling Shepard. Today, or he had a low ankle sprain, being carted off the field. I heard he was in tears. Everybody thought it was real bad when it first happened. There wasn't any word on it. Comes out to be something that's not that bad, kind of like a week-to-week injury. So, um, how does that affect the wide receivers of the New York Giants?
Well, the Giants hope it's not that bad. They from the reports, it said he was in a lot of pain. So we have to wait and see. Usually, we've all sprained an ankle, and we can walk it off without crying. But the way the reports came out is that he was in lots and lots of pain. I have Sterling Shepard predicted as the number 2 receiver on that team, even with the Evan Ingrams and Brandon Marshall coming on the team, the new guys. I had Sterling Shepard as going to be the number 2 receiver after Odell Beckham, and I also had him down, maybe not for 10 touchdowns he had last year, but somewhere around 6 and a lot of catches. But now that this injury, let's see if it holds him back or not. Hopefully it doesn't. But even if it does, I doubt Brandon Marshall sees too much more targets than what I predict Shepard to do. We got to remember Brandon Marshall's getting up there in age. Last year, they forced the ball to him in New York, and with the Jets, they forced the ball to him. He didn't do that well. So even if they are without Shepard, I would expect maybe like somebody like Roger Lewis, not an Evan Ingram, maybe Roger Lewis, who they like, to step up and play slot, but he won't even have that much value in fantasy. Maybe in your DraftKings or FanDuel, he can be value on certain weeks.
Right. And one thing about it, you say, Brandon Marshall's getting up there in age, but let's not get one thing twisted. He can still get up there and go up there and get that thing. So, some of the best hands, in the game right now. And probably just what he needs is that, that primary guy that everybody's locked in on, so he can, do some work on the number 2 guy, the number 2 cornerback or the slot cornerback, depending on where he's lined up. So definitely don't fall asleep on Brandon Marshall. That might be a sleeper. Not really a sleeper, since he's going, probably somewhere in the, mid couple rounds, but definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree with you. He still can beat any DB one-on-one. We seen it last year, even if he was beating DBs, but he just didn't look the same. He was always would seem like a new injury every week, knee, hip, arm, shoulder. Every week it seemed like something was nagging on him, which happens when you get that age. But I just question, and I hate doing this, the motivation for the Giants right now, from Eli to Odell to Brandon Marshall. Like we heard earlier this week, Odell wants to be the highest football player of all time. We know that's not going to happen because he's not a quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you got Eli, who already won his 2 Super Bowls, had a bad year last year, and it looks like he's just ready to play out his contract and retire. And then you got Brandon Marshall, who's already looking for a career after football in the broadcasting, maybe doing his NFL show that comes on HBO or I think Showtime.
Showtime, Inside the NFL.
Yeah, so are they all concentrated on the same thing, which is winning, or have they separate agendas?
That's right. You make a good point. So definitely something to keep an eye on, and something to monitor in the future because he is getting up there in age. I don't think he has too many good years left ahead of him. So they might, Sterling Shepard is the guy they're gonna, they're thinking is going to take over for Odell someday or be up there, kind of have that 1-2 punch until they retire. Hopefully if they can perform, at least Sterling Shepard. But yeah, definitely I don't see them trying to push Brandon Marshall a bunch of targets if Sterling Shepard's healthy. So definitely keep an eye on Sterling Shepard's ankle throughout the rest of training camp and into the regular season. Next is Will Fuller. Broke his collarbone today. That sounded like it hurt. And when you think about it, I mean, one thing about me, Ty, when I first heard about it, I was like, this it's not really something that sounds surprising. You got a little, he's not the biggest guy out there. He's out there running 100 miles an hour. It doesn't take nothing but to slip up one time and a guy to land on you. You know what I mean? So
a safety, a safety trying to make a name for himself, or yeah, like you said, somebody landing on him. I think he has to do a better job of avoiding those contacts, and maybe the team has to do a better job of keeping out of those drills. He's just a speed threat. Treat him like a Ted Ginn.
right.
Keep him away from that contact. He's a little frame. Uh,
Or Deshaun Jackson.
or Deshaun Jackson, exactly. Keep him out of that contact because he can be a value to the Texans. Me and you spoke about this a little bit off air. We don't know how much fantasy value Will Fuller had. I know you had him on a couple of your teams last year, and he had value early in the season. Then had
Yeah.
a lot of drops, injuries, to the point where you couldn't even play him no more. And I think he's that deep threat that can open up for DeAndre Hopkins, which they don't have anything like that behind him. I mean, Braxton Miller's a great slot receiver, but he's not too experienced. He played 1 year last year. Other than that, he was a quarterback at Ohio State. And then we talked about it. Jalen Strong behind that is a big receiver, but he sucks. He has a lot of chance. The guy I like is Wendell Williams, who has Will Fuller speed. He's 5'11", 185. A lot of people compare him to Emmanuel Sanders, Mike Wallace type. So he gets high praise. He just came from a small college, Cumberland's College. I never even heard of that until
Cumberland College.
Cumberland's College. So
I never heard of that one either.
exactly. He's 26 years old. I mean, we would like maybe in the 22, 23 range for somebody with potential. But I think if Deshaun Watson is playing as well as Coach Bill O'Brien says he is, and teams are going to double team DeAndre Hopkins, middle of the season towards the end of the fantasy season, you might see Wendell Williams pop up with a couple of deep catches here and there and put up some points. Like I said, maybe in your DraftKings or your FanDuel, and then you can, or you're streaming during your bye weeks when you need that Hail Mary wide receiver flex.
that boomer bust, baby.
That boomer bust. I think Wendell Williams can be that guy. You know, like I said, he has that speed, and if Tom Savage or Deshaun Watson can get him the ball, I think Bill O'Brien can drop some plays just like they did with Will Fuller at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I'm checking out this guy now. It looks like he had a reported unofficial 419 40 dash. It's unofficial though. It wasn't at the combine or anything, but yeah, this kid, I'm looking at some tape out of now. He's looking like he's a blazer.
I mean, at Cumberland's College, where did they run their 40 on a vegan farm?
Yeah, they're probably running on that 100% natural grass out there. So you got that extra cushion on it.
Yeah, see, I mean it's in St. Williamsburg, Kentucky, so it's probably in a small town up there, and he's very, very fast. I mean, even his unofficial 4.1, so you add a couple of more seconds to it. Is that a 4.3 or a 4.4? So that's still fast.
Yep, absolutely, and definitely somebody to keep an eye on. I'm definitely watching him since you brought that name up. Definitely keep an eye on him throughout the rest of training camp.
I think with him, it's just about the opportunity and who's the quarterback. Like you said it first. Jalen Strong sucks, and Braxton Miller, I don't think they see him as an outside receiver. So if the next man up plays, it's him or whoever we see in preseason. So watch, like I said, watch the preseason games, and if Wendell Williams not in and Jalen Strong's not in, the other receiver who's in with the starters is most likely going to have some kind of fantasy value during the season.
Right, right. And Jalen Strong, if you're listening, I just want to say, I don't think he just sucks. You know what I mean? I know the situation in Houston is a little messed up, but if you had a guy like Tom Brady throw it to you, I'm sure you'll do fine. But just not for fantasy purposes. I don't think you should be on anybody's team, to be honest with you. But yeah, But yeah, Wendell Williams definitely a name to keep an eye on. Now let me ask you a question. Do you think the bright lights and a big role? Do you think that'll kind of startle him a little bit if he does get thrown in the fire coming
No,
from such a small college?
I think at 26 years of age, you're not young no more. And you have to make that name for yourself. You have to at least get one big contract before you're over 30. As you start slowing down, you know you the Texans don't know what to do with you. The quarterback situation you said is not great there. Um, so if he's hungry enough, he gets the opportunity. I think he can, just like I said, big plays. He won't be a top 40 fantasy wide receiver, but like we seen a couple of years ago with Ted Ginn at the end of the year, those 60 yards and one touchdown add up and can win you some games, some weeks.
100%, 100%. So yeah, we'll go ahead and go into the mock draft. We'll save Kaepernick for next week. Since I want to make sure we understand if he's getting signed or not, because there's a lot of he say, she say right now. Uh,
But
definitely want to.
before you start the mock, I heard something interesting from a friend of mine. He he listened to the show last week, and he heard us talking about Ezekiel Elliott and the suspension. And he heard my point, which I said maybe the Cowboys were interfering with the suspension. And then he seen how the Cowboys signed Ronnie Hillman and brought some other running backs in for
Right.
workouts. And he said he gave him a good point. He said Jerry Jones is smart and he's also selfish. He loved the attention. This week, Jerry Jones is going to the Hall of Fame for being an owner. Do not suspend Ezekiel Elliott before I go in the Hall of Fame. Wait until I enter the Hall of Fame. Then he's going to let the league do what they do with the suspension because all the attention he wants on himself, not on.
That's a selfish man there, boy.
We've seen it before with Jerry Jones. He brought up a good point. If if he really thinks that way, I mean, we've seen it with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson described him like that too, saying he was selfish. He wants all the attention. He didn't want to share the spotlight with Jimmy Johnson. So I think that can be one of the theories out there, but who knows what's going on with the Zeke suspension.
That's right. All right. But yep. Thanks for that, Ty. So week two or week three and round two fantasy mock draft. So last week we had a bunch of good names. A bunch of people that went in the first round. Kind of like a recap. Ty, do you remember? You remember the names we went over? Let me test you right now.
Anyway, you went with your buddy David.
David Johnson first. Then
David
you picked Le'Veon second.
Yeah, and then you did something interesting. You passed on Ezekiel Elliott,
Right.
and you got your boy Aaron Rodgers.
That's right. A
Yeah.
Rod.
Then I picked Elliott fourth. Then I think you passed again on Antonio Brown,
Right.
and you went with Odell Beckham.
That's right.
Yeah.
Odell. Then
And
you went ahead and got Antonio Brown.
yeah, and then you went and got Tom Brady. So you got another quarterback in the first round.
Yep.
Yep. And then I couldn't pass on Julio Jones.
Yep. You would have got Julio. That was at number 8, right?
Yes, sir. And then
Number
you
9. Who we had at number 9?
I think Melvin Mel. Oh no,
No, not Melvin.
No, you picked up. You picked up. Who did you get?
Who was it? Was it the wide receiver?
I think
Well,
it was my. Oh no, you picked Freeman.
Was
You
it
pick,
Freeman?
yes, you
No,
pick, it wasn't Freeman.
I think it was Mike Evans.
Maybe Mike Evans. Mike Evans. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
well, we'll if you listened to it last week, you'll go ahead and catch that.
And
um, but yeah, so picking up from there, we got second round, which is pick 11, pick one in the second round, pick 11 overall. So I'll go ahead and let you do the honors this week, Ty, since I went ahead and took it off last weekend. So who you taking with that second round? First pick in the second round.
first pick in the second round, I am just gonna. Even though we found out news today that the Chargers lost their rookie guard Forrest Lamp, who I thought was gonna be a big addition to the team, I'm gonna go Melvin Gordon.
Okay.
Touchdowns win a lot of leagues, and I expect him to get a lot of those 1 yard touchdowns. Maybe not a lot of yards, but he's gonna catch the ball out the backfield, and his backup Brandon Oliver is not going to be drafted. So even if Gordon does get hurt, you have an opportunity to pick up his backup in the waiver wire without other teams handcuffing him.
Right. And unless you're in a really deep league, you know, maybe worry about Brandon Oliver. That's kind of a sleeper I'm thinking about too. Um, and I've been big on him for a while. I like his, like another Darren Sproles, but kind of with an extra little punch to him. You know what I mean? So
A couple of years ago, he did win a lot of weeks for people at the end of the year when Ryan Matthews got hurt. So he does have the talent.
yes, he does. Yes, he does. So Melvin Gordon, that's not a bad pick. I mean Gordon, he's all right. I mean I'm not too high on him, but in that offense, I know it's kind of like they try to treat Rivers as if he's Aaron Rodgers, throwing all these little weapons that's like half of what Aaron Rodgers has. So,
Exactly.
but I mean Melvin Gordon, he could definitely win you some weeks. Um, so if you're in that position, I'll go ahead. I can't disagree with that. I'll go ahead and let that slide. Melvin Gordon is cool with me. For that number 12 pick, which is on me now, I think I'm going to have to go with. So you got everybody. So pretty much the situation right now, you got a bunch of people taking all the, um, top two quarterbacks off the board, pretty much the top four running backs off the board, and the top six receivers off the board. So technically, if you this is going to be that back-to-back pick, right? That person that you had the back-to-back pick. That person that has the end of the
Yes, I had the back to back.
right, and then if I this would be if I had the ninth pick, I would have the pick after you have your back-to-back. So if I went ahead and picked up, let's say Mike Evans in the ninth, I will go ahead and match him with maybe a running back. So for the running back, I'm going to go with Jay Ajayi. You know what I mean? My man Jay Ajayi from Miami.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Solid running back. Everybody knows he had the three 200-yard games last year. Um, I mean that's you can't say much about it. He's doing his thing in that offense. The offensive line, I know there's been worries about that, but I mean he's still a solid back. It's either between him and Jordan Howard. Those are they're kind of like in the same category where based on certain situations in the offense, you don't know if they're going to be boom or they're going to be a big bust for you. So you got to have that risk there, but definitely that reward you won't be complaining on a week to week basis.
I agree. Ajayi, his ceiling is very, very high. Let's if he has three more 200-yard games this year, he might win you the league. We had bad news. Today is August 2nd. We had bad news yesterday, August 1st, that he suffered a concussion in practice. Um, we can't judge how bad a concussion treats each individual.
All right.
Um, we've seen it with Dan Kuechly. We've seen Jordan Reed have concussion for 4 weeks. So everybody handles concussions differently. Hopefully, this one is an easy bounce back for Jay Ajayi, and they keep him away from head-on-head injuries throughout the preseason. But if this does linger on, uh, his fantasy value will drop because he already has the bone-on-bone
Yeah, those
problem
knee
in his
problems.
knee in his knees, and a lot of GMs then passed on him, even though he was a good running back in college. A lot of GMs and scouts said he would only play 3 years, and this is his third year, correct? So
Yep,
hopefully he's not an injury-prone running back, and hopefully you don't pick him in the first round because you could lose your league. Just,
that's
but
true.
as far as Jay Ajayi, I'm not that big on him. I would like I went Melvin Gordon. I take LaShawn McCoy. Jay mentioned earlier that him and Howard are in the same situation, but he did not mention last year's valuable running back Freeman and DeMarco Murray, who I would go in front of Jay. But I know Jay's a Dolphin fan, and he's got to keep it in for the home team.
You know what I'm saying? I swear, if we're doing a draft and I don't get Jay Ajayi right there, I probably won't have a Dolphin player on my roster the whole season. Like the way I've been doing some of these mock drafts, it's like because everybody's trying to grab Devontae Parker and Landry and even Stills, and I'm focused on a few other names in those areas. So
It's, Jay Ajayi looks so delicious. I mean, when you see that name up there and you see what he done with his limited time last year, he at the running back position, and you figure he can start us all 16 games this year. What he could do, you're probably talking about 1,800 total yards at with the if the line stays healthy. And I know for a fact that Pouncey is going to start the season playing. He's going to I don't know if he's gonna
that's
finish the
right.
season. I don't know if he's gonna finish the season playing, but
Now we
he's gonna
praying
be
we
there week
praying he gonna
one.
finish the season.
As far as Tunsu, I think he's a little bit injury prone too, and that will hurt the Dolphins more than Pouncey. But like we said, it's a wait and see with Ajayi.
Absolutely. And let me just throw this out there. Like, I'm the big Dolphin fan. I watch Jay Ajayi. I mean, the guy has talent. He runs hard. You know what I'm saying? The scheme that Adam Gaze is throwing in there is kind of what's helping him out a little bit too. And then the thing is that I think is going to separate him and give him that value at that 12th pick in the second round is that Adam Gaze offense. Like you got a full year together with all the weapons. You just added a new weapon in Julius Thomas. So I mean, definitely don't fall asleep on us. We definitely can spread the field. If safety start to creep up, you'll get beat deep. So um, and that's what I think is going to give Jay Ajayi that extra push, just because he runs so hard, and that defenses are going to have to respect Tannehill. And yes, I said it. Defenses are going to have to respect Tannehill this year. So keep an eye on that.
um,
So who you
yeah.
got at number 13, Ty?
Oh, at number 13, since I got Gordon in the first round with the eighth pick, I'm gonna go and get a Jordy Nelson,
Ooh,
uh,
that's a
Aaron
would that
Rodgers'
be
number
a
one
would that be a
receiver.
reach?
If you look at how he finished last year, no. But if you look at how he started last year, yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
I think the Jordy we seen at the end of last year is gonna be the Jordy we see this year. I think his knee is gonna be healthier and he's gonna be back to normal speed. I know he's older and he's gonna lose a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be the Jordy that couldn't get open uh, in the earlier weeks, like the Tennessee game. We seen him against the Bears. We see him not able to get any separation, and, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers has anybody else he can trust throwing the ball to. Uh, we know he forced his connection with Devontae Adams by forcing him the ball, and Devontae Adams is known for the drop C's. And Martellus Bennett is there now, but he's not the deep threat. So it's Jordy.
Yep, Jordy definitely one of the top receivers in the game, and the reason why I'm going so high on Aaron Rodgers because the offense runs through him, and he has his favorite target. So if you have Rodgers, it's a good idea that you probably want to get some of his weapons, so you can double dip on some of those points. You get those touchdowns and receiving points, so and yards.
Fantasy is not a hard game to play. Uh, if you look at it every year, if you get some of each of the most explosive offenses, and then you sprinkle it with the running backs from the teams that like to run the ball, you'll be very competitive. For example, every year you want a receiver that plays for Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. Then you want running backs that run the ball a lot. Number one running backs like a David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, the Cowboys, and if you can combine those, you'll be very competitive because we know Drew Brees is going to throw the ball a ton every year. We know Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball a ton every year. We know Tom Brady is going to throw the ball a ton every year. So if you
Hmm.
can get some of that offense, it's not like with, for example, with the Panthers, one year you might see the leading receiver do well, the next year he falls off. No, with these offenses I just named, they have consistency with their quarterback, so they're going to have consistency with at least two or three fantasy weapons.
That's right. Um, so yeah, Jordy Nelson, definitely keep an eye on that, and a bunch of Aaron Rodgers' other weapons. So at number 14, I'm gonna have to take Michael Thomas from the New Orleans Saints.
Good pick,
Man,
good pick.
say that again.
I said good pick.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm big on. I think I'm big on Thomas this year. I've been watching some video on him. And now that the receiver has gone to New England, I think
Brandon
he's
Cook. Brandon
Brandon
Cook.
Cooks. I think he's gonna go ahead and take over that number one role, and the Saints feel comfortable with handing him the keys with Drew Brees coming down. The last part of the season. It could go one or two ways, honestly. The Saints went and got Adrian Peterson, so obviously they want to run the ball. They got Mark Ingram and they got Alvin Kamara, the running back from Tennessee. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that. They might be trying to take the pressure off of Breeze to run the ball a little bit, or they could just keep it the same and kind of keep more of a balance. But I think they know that Breeze is getting older, but he still has that. He still can sling that thing, and Michael Thomas is going to be the beneficiary of a lot of those passes and a lot of those games that make a difference. So Michael Thomas, remember that name, Ty? What do you think about him?
Yeah, I was big on Michael Thomas last year for the fact that I knew, like I said, Breeze likes to pass the ball. I didn't get him in every draft. He wasn't available in a lot of drafts. He wasn't available in our league. We play together. Um, I like Michael Thomas this year. I think he's going to be the number one receiving threat. I also like Willie Snead and Tech in, and I'm going to be looking at Brandon Coleman a lot this preseason. A lot of people are talking about Michael Thomas. A lot of people are talking about Willie Snead and
Yeah.
Tech in, but Brandon Coleman, he's 6'6" and he's like 220 pounds, and he can run like a horse. He's that big target that Breeze likes to throw to. You got to remember Colston. You got to remember Jimmy Graham. So I think Michael Thomas will still lead the team in receptions and yardage, but I think Brandon Coleman is a sleeper. Um, Only issue I have here is if Breeze likes to spread the ball,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
spreading the ball around uh, is not going to make Michael Thomas worth the second round pick. Uh, do I think he can put up almost similar numbers to what he did last year? Yes, but I think he's going to decline just a little bit, and that won't be good for picking him in the second round. But his ceiling is very high if he does duplicate what he did last year. And just to tell you, the Saints start their season versus the Vikings, the Pats, the Panthers, then the Dolphins. I know the last two teams are not uh, scary when you say defense, but they're going to Minnesota, and we've just seen Xavier Rhodes get his
Got that money.
got that big contract, and he's gonna be man to man on Michael Thomas. Then they're going to New England. They're actually home versus New England,
Uh-huh.
and
Stephon Gilmore
Malcolm
and Malcolm
Butler.
Butler.
So that's just something to take into consideration. And then they're at Carolina, and we know Drew Brees doesn't play as well as on the road as he does at home.
Yeah,
So that
those quick point, those games in the NFC South, those division games, sometimes they get real dirty and nasty, especially with Tampa Bay and Carolina. So, they do play twice a year, so definitely keep that in mind.
yeah, so it just to show you that last year Brandon Cooks was the number one receiver. He was seeing the number one corners. He was seeing the number one coverage. This year it's gonna be Michael Thomas, uh, seeing the number one corners from the New England Patriots and the Minnesota Vikings week 2 and week 1. And if he can start the season out good, then you're in good shape. But I also think it might depend on the running game with Ingram, Peterson, and Kamara can bring to maybe uh, loosen up that secondary.
That's right. Definitely loosen up that secondary. So who you going with that number 15 pick uh, in the
Number
second round?
number 15. He's been sitting here too long, and he's just screaming at me. It's Jordan Howard.
Yep, good
Jordan
pick.
Howard, the Chicago Bears running back. I see him as a good pick for the second round since he did show his potential last year. Everybody's hoping he doesn't have the Todd Gurley fall off that Todd Gurley had last year. But I think a lot of people are underestimating what the Bears and not Ron Rivera, John Fox can do. I think they can be better than what people think they are gonna be, even if Mike Glennon at quarterback. So I think Jordan Howard is worth the second round pick.
Yeah, Jordan Howard, that's a good selection right there. He definitely runs hard. He's young. A lot of people he kind of fell under the radar just because the Bears had a bad season, but he still was the leading rusher. Well, not the leading rusher, but he was right behind Zeke. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, that's definitely a solid pick. The Bears, I like the Bears. They definitely added those weapons at wide receiver, so you can, that's the kind of the trend everybody's going to. Have a couple good backs, and have some receivers that'll, give your quarterback some time to catch the ball. Um, a lot of teams are going to that method, and it's proven to work. Look at Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. That's what everybody's trying to copy to get to. So, um, yeah, I like Jordan Howard at that number 15 spot.
and if he can stop dropping the ball and learn how to catch it, that'll add to his fantasy value. Because if you look at his schedule, not to bring up the schedules too much, but if you look at the Bears' first 3 games, they're playing some good offenses and not known for their run defense. Even though Pittsburgh is a decent run defense, they lost a couple of linebackers. But week 1 they play the Falcons. If it turns into a shootout, Jordan Howard can easily put up some fantasy value there. And then week 2, they're playing Tampa Bay. So
Yeah,
he can stay.
one of those ugly games.
He can start the week off, the first 2 weeks off, and get you in a good position at your fantasy league.
Yeah, and last year I thought Jeremy Langford was going to be that guy for the Bears, so I had some faith in the Bears running game. I saw some things in preseason with the offensive line that kind of gave me some hope, but unfortunately it didn't work out for Jeremy Langford. Jordan Howard came out and took it. Early in that season they kind of had a battle, but it seems like this year they know who the guy is, and they're gonna go ahead and feed him that rock.
Yeah, and then not only that, even if Jordan Howard continues to drop the ball and he only plays on non-passing downs, they like that kid Tariq Cohen. He's like the Darren Sproles type. He's very shifty. He can catch the ball. So if you're in PPR leagues and deep PPR leagues and you have opportunity to pick up Tariq Cohen, think about it later in the season because he's going to get a lot of dump downs from Mike Glennon. So he might put up some value like Duke Johnson did last year.
The great Duke. Hey, I used to make fun of Duke, but I think he could. I think the way they're talking, they might try to give him the ball. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Well, it's a popular thing now to have the two running backs. I guess a lot of people seen the Falcons and the Patriots do it,
Yeah,
and it was the only game on TV. So a lot of teams see, oh, James White, Deion Lewis, LeGarrette Blunt. Let's try something like that. You're not the Patriots and you're not the Falcons, so
that's
uh,
true.
when
Nobody will be the Patriots. I trust me. If anybody knows, I know that. I got to
yeah.
deal with them twice a year.
Well, not only that, you're not the Falcons because you're never gonna have that Julio Jones at the outside.
Yeah, that's true. You had
Mhm.
that Julio Jones, and then you got that Devontae, that 1-2 punch.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
one of the
mean,
best in the league.
when that safety can't come up and it has to stay so far back, it opens up a lot of running room for Freeman and Coleman.
True that. All right, so number 16, I'm gonna go ahead and take Todd Gurley. I hear they're trying to, a lot of people are down on Todd Gurley. You know what I mean, and I don't blame you. Jeff Fisher almost ruined his career. But thank goodness he's out the door. I don't mean to, brag on anybody losing a job, but he wasn't helping them out, if anything. So you got McVay in there now. They're running a little bit of a zone scheme. I think it's gonna work out for them. I'm giving them hope. They're trying to get them in the passing game also. So a lot of people are, copycat league that find that one running back that's a bruiser that can catch the ball too. Because if you had that dual threat running back like a Marshall Faulk, um, no pun intended since he on the Rams, but if you do got a back like Marshall Faulk that can do it all, and he can take those beatings and take those hits instead and take it off of your quarterback and your receiver, go ahead and do it. Just make sure you pay that man, those GMs out there. Make sure you pay these running backs. You asking them to do everything. I just wanted to throw that out there. But definitely, Todd Gurley. I think that's a good pick at number 16. What do you think, Ty?
Todd Gurley, I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. I think last year, like we talked about earlier with the Giants' motivation, you playing for a coach like Jeff Fisher, you lose to the 49ers, a team that you're better than week one, then you come out and you have a tough schedule. You lose your motivation to play. I know he's a football player; he's supposed to come play every week, but he's human too. So
Mhm.
Todd Gurley, he's also gonna want to get paid, so I think that's gonna be his motivation. But the new coach, the new offense centered around him, like you said, the zone scheme, one cut, and I think Todd Gurley has his bounce back year. You're going to see a lot of screens. You're going to hopefully Jared Goff can dump it down to him out the backfield, maybe get him like 3, 4 catches a game. And I don't expect him to get in the end zone that often because the offense is not going to see that side. I think the defense is much improved, so they won't have to. But I think Todd Gurley is, if you look at all the other running backs that you drafted Todd Gurley in front of, Lamar Miller, Leonard Fournette, Marshawn Lynch, Isaiah Correll, they're all in similar situations. So I think with the upside of Gurley, I think you made a good pick.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And like you said, I think the only thing that could hold him back is Jared Goff. Had a rough first year, but once again, that was probably because of you know Eric Fisher. But change is always good sometime, especially when you weren't that good to begin with. So we're hoping for a bounce back year. Another thing that probably hold them back is their receiving corp. As we were all saying, that copycat league, everybody's trying to do what everybody's doing. You don't have those big threats on the outside that people can respect. Then a lot of that won't work out for them. But we're hoping for a bounce back year on that. Um, so who you taking at number 17, Ty?
Who at number 17? I'm gonna try to outsmart my league.
Uh-oh.
uh, you figure at number 18, 19, or 20, their picks come right back around to him. And I know this player is worth a early third round pick, so maybe I'm gonna pick him up now before he's gone. And that player is Rob Gronkowski.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
I'm
First tight
getting
end off the board.
I'm getting Gronk here because he's actually a tight end that puts up wide receiver numbers. And I know a lot of people say, if he can stay healthy. Well, that's with everybody who drafted so far.
That's true.
We have to take this gamble here at this pick. If you playing fantasy, especially if you have a little small wager of money at the end of the year. If you put him up to Des Bryant, who's often injured, Amari Cooper, who's off and on, then you have Doug Baldwin, who you never know what you're going to get from him, a good week or a bad week. I would gladly take Rob Gronkowski in front of him because you know he's going to have a week where he's going to carry your fantasy team. Tom Brady's going to hit him for those 2 touchdowns for 80 yards, and that's wide receiver numbers to me.
That's true. And Gronk, a big target. I was actually playing Madden last night, and my opponent had the Patriots, and just the size difference alone, like it's insane how big this dude is compared to linebackers and DBs. I mean, it's just a mismatch hell for anybody. So, um, and another thing, like I was mentioning before with Aaron Rodgers, and his weapons, if you picking if I'm so high on that quarterback, then his weapons you probably want to be high on too. Gronk is definitely number one on that list. Second on that would probably be Brandon Cooks. Brady. He has a deep ball. He doesn't go to it that often, but he could definitely get it up there. Um, so yeah, I definitely like Rob Gronkowski right here.
And like we spoke earlier, the Pats, well, week one, they played the Chiefs on the Thursday night game to open the season. They always killed the Chiefs. I expect Gronk to score there. Then they go play the Saints in the dome. So you can expect Gronk to score there. So like I said, if you get those first 2 weeks from Gronk, and then he can win you those weeks, he's worth it there.
100%. All right. So with me with the number 18 pick, I'm gonna go ahead and select. I don't think you're ready for this, Ty. I'm gonna take Dez Bryant.
Oh,
I'm pretty big on Dez. Like everybody, I mean, I know most people, they say he gets hurt. Same situation with Gronk. If he could stay healthy, you got the young quarterback. People don't know. They're skeptical to think if they could do it again. You got Zeke in that whole situation, but Dez, he's still a dog in that offense. I think they did add those weapons that can dump it to down low, but Dez, he's still at beast, and they still want to get him fed, and he makes noise if he doesn't get fed. So Jerry Jones always want to keep him happy, in that what's it called, reality show we call Dallas. So always something going on over there, but I like Dez. I think Dallas is going to throw a lot more this year. Um, you know, Zeke, they're going to run the ball, but you are in that one of the highest scoring offenses division in the league in that NFC um, East. So you got when every time they play those division rivals, there's always some points being put up. So I like Dez at this position. I think he's safe enough based on the other names that have been up there and some of the names that are behind him. So he's kind of like at that perfect spot at number 18 for me.
yeah, I agree with you. Only receiver that maybe I can say that you missed out on there is maybe a Doug Baldwin, but he's off and on. You always been bigger Des Bryant than me. I remember last year we made a trade with each other in our league.
Yeah,
And I didn't. I'm a Des fan, not in fantasy because Des is two touchdown reliant. Um, I
that's
just want to,
true.
since you made this pick, and it's a second round pick, I want to ask you a quick question. Name your top five corners in the league.
Top five corners. Oh man, put me on the spot. So I'm gonna have to go number one. It's gonna My number one is a little bit shocking. I'm gonna have to go with Patrick Peterson.
Okay.
Um, Number two is probably gonna be Sherman. I do like Sherman there. Number three, Xavier Rhodes. Number four, I'm gonna have to go with the guy in out there on the Chargers. What's his name?
Oh, the one Hayward, Casey
Yeah,
Hayward.
Hayward.
Yeah.
I like him at number four, and then number five, I'm gonna have to go with the guy from Denver,
Okay. All right. Now,
T. Hayward, and
here's what I'm gonna tell you. Um, Des Bryant is facing four out of those five corners this year.
oh man, that's a
not
tough break right there.
not to include Jelani Jenkins from the Giants, week one. Week two, he's Talib from Denver.
Hmm.
Week three, Pat Peterson.
Oh man.
Week four, the highest paid cornerback in the league from the Rams, Tremaine Johnson. They franchise tagged him.
Oh man.
I think week seven is Josh Norman. Then he plays San Diego later in the season. Josh Norman again, Jelani Jenkins again, Richard Sherman week 16. So
Yeah,
that's just a schedule for Dez.
that's a tough that's a tough break right there. I mean, but the thing is, like, I'm so high on Dez. It's like, man, I think he could. I think he just has that competitive edge to him, and you name those cornerbacks, and I think all those guys have that competitive edge. I left Norman out of my top five for a reason because he has that competitive edge, but I don't think he's as good as he's getting paid.
I,
'Cause
I, I, I agree with you. I don't think Dez can be stopped by any corner in the league. But like we spoke about in episode one of our podcast, uh, when you know that corner is over there covering Dez, do you have that Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady confidence to still throw that way?
right.
We a couple of years ago we seen Seattle and Green Bay open the Thursday night game after Seattle won the Super Bowl, and it was Richard Sherman locked on Jordy Nelson, and Aaron Rodgers didn't look that way the whole game. So some corners are gonna get that respect, and we named some pretty good ones that Dez has to face, especially early in the season before he even gets injured.
100%. And it also is all about game flow, right? You got to see how the game's going. If other guys aren't giving you anything, if the other receivers, if they're giving you everything down low, then you probably don't need Dez. But yeah, definitely. Um,
Exactly. If you get past those first 4 weeks, or what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first 4 weeks are going to be tough for Dez. You got Jelani Jenkins, Talib, Chris Harris for Denver, Pat Peterson for Cardinals, Tremaine Johnson for the Rams. Then you have Green Bay, then the 49ers, which Dez can do some damage in. So if you get past those first 4 weeks, Dez should do good for you in your fantasy.
yeah, 100%. I know I wasn't complaining with those. I think he had what 10 touchdowns last year. Or not 10. He had 6 or 7. But they definitely came at timely moments. If he didn't get the touchdowns, he definitely gave me the yards on a couple. So, it's only maybe 3 or 4 games that he didn't give me numbers that I really wanted, but I was happy with it. And at this value right here in the second round, I think it's perfect for him. And I think that
Yes,
connection with Dak is going to build.
yes. Well, with my pick, I know a lot of people are going to be excited about him from what he did last year, and a lot of people are going to be shy away from him, thinking he's going to fall off. But I'm going to go with DeMarco Murray. Uh, the,
Marco.
the Titans want to continue to run the ball. They don't want to pass. They don't want to expose Mariota to being one of those quarterbacks that loses confidence during the season because they have to pass so much and he starts overthinking, throwing interceptions. They want to run the ball, even if Derrick Henry does take some touches away. I still think DeMarco Murray will give you enough fantasy value at this pick in round two. So at this point, I would have to take DeMarco Murray off the board.
Definitely, DeMarco Murray. That's a safe pick. Do you think they're gonna try to bring along um Henry? Do you think they're gonna try to bring him along a little more this season? Because I know they were itching and waiting to get him in the game, and towards the end of the season they started to give him a little bit more action. Do you think that'll hurt DeMarco?
Yeah, but like I said, they run the ball so much. I think, like we just discussed too, that teams want to get in that new trend in NFL, the two-headed monster, the Freeman Coleman trend,
Hmm.
and I think if they feel like they can be successful at doing that, they will do it. If they have success, I mean, both players can have a standalone fantasy value for you. You can have Murray, and then you can have Henry. Well, somebody else in your league can have Henry, and they can both start every week. Uh, I'm not sure if each one will score every week like the Falcons running backs did last year, but you will get that fantasy value.
Right, and I like Murray. He's still proving that he's got it after he had that great season with the Cowboys. So definitely don't count him out. Um, Mariota, he can definitely get it around. So they kind of are, like you said, copying that league, and they kind of do have the weapons around to kind of make it happen that way. So keep an eye on him. Only thing is he's 29. He turned 29 this year. That age for running back. Some of them start breaking down. Based on what they putting in their body. I don't know, but definitely a good pick there.
Yeah, we just uh, I expected Murray to get hurt last year. I picked him in a couple of leagues, and I just expected for him to fall off during the season, and he never really did. He had the toe was bothering him, but I think the motivation of maybe thinking that he can be the one that help get the Titans into that playoff kept him motivated enough to play past that toe injury. Uh, DeMarco Murray never had a bad season, even when he played the little bit he did with the Eagles. He wasn't that bad. So DeMarco Murray is always going to be one of the top fantasy running backs and second round pick with the availability of some of these running backs that we're not sure about. I don't think you can pass on him.
100%, 100%. All right, so with me with the last pick in the second round, I think I got to do this. He's been sitting out here for a while. Everybody's curious about him. I'm gonna have to go with Leonard Fournette. And I think let me tell you why I'm gonna take him here because I think this is the perfect spot. Either this pick or the pick you got right after that because you would have those back to back picks. This person picking in this spot would be the person that had the first pick overall. So, if you got David Johnson or if you decide to go with Le'Veon Bell, you get Leonard Fournette. You kind of do have another running back right there, and then you get you can worry about another position in that immediate pick right after. So it is a risk. I'm not gonna lie. We don't know yet. I mean, no preseason games have been played. I'm sure he's gonna blow up in preseason, and it's probably gonna be, you know, way way higher than he's going right now. But right here, I feel pretty safe taking him, and I know there's a million reasons why you shouldn't. You got Blake Bortles and, new offense, and he's a rookie. But, everybody, I don't even want to bring up Ezekiel Elliott because I don't think he's going to have that kind of a season, but I think he's going to be very productive. Because from what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing and seeing out of Jaguars camp, Blake Bortles, they don't want this guy touching the ball at all. So I feel safe taking him right here. What do you think?
I agree. Like you said, Uh, they don't want Blake Bortles running it. Even if Chad Henne does come in for Bortles during the season, I think they just want to hand the ball off to Fournette and see what he does. They drafted him number four. You don't draft somebody at number four and not use them. I know you're going to hear a lot about Yeldon. You're going to hear a lot about Chris Ivory. There's a report today that Yeldon is doing a good job. And they only want to Yeldon to pass block if they come trying to come from behind or trying to get a rhythm in the game late in the game. And if that's the case, Leonard might not. Leonard can't catch the pass block. He's a man. He's bigger than some of these linebackers that are blitzing some of these DNs
Yeah.
that are coming off the edge. So I'm sure he can handle his own back there. Now, as far as assignments and where that to come with time, but if he's doing his job and making plays and getting the best the yardage he can and holding on to the football, which Tom Coughlin will bench you if you do fumble. Leonard Fournette is not known as a fumbler, but if he holds on to that football and makes his plays, he will be in there. He's going to get those 1 yard touchdowns when they do eventually get to the 5 yard line. He's going to be in there. It's not going to be Yeldon. It's not going to be Ivory. It's going to be Leonard Fournette. They pay him a lot of money already because they drafted him number four and they want him to earn it. So I agree with you. And like you said, at the turnaround, you can get Leonard Fournette, and you already had Bell or Johnson. Now you can go get your receiver, and we'll talk about that next week.
Absolutely, 100%. Um, Thanks for that, Ty. So yeah, that's your second round right there, second round mock draft. We may do the third round next week, but you got to stick around to find out. Um, yeah, thank you for sticking around with us. I know we talking a lot, giving you a lot of information, a lot's coming at you. Don't be afraid to ask us questions. We're always here to help you out. So hit us up. So signing off till next week. Ty, you got anything you want to tell them before we sign off?
Watch preseason.
Yeah, Hall of Fame game coming on tomorrow night. Um, gonna be pretty boring to some people because not the names that they want to see on are playing, but a lot of valuable information gonna be showed out there. As far as plays being called and different formations, things like that. Keep an eye on it. Definitely keep an eye on it. Pay attention. Well, thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. It's Jay and Ty signing off. Fantasy and Facts. We'll see you next week. Holla.